which show's coming out Saturday. Sunday. So it'll be posted in the show's going to be out in 5 days.
Wait, is it?
From Tuesday.
What day is it today?
The 15th.
Huh.
Heard it from her first, folks.
Hey YouTube, welcome back to our channel. My name is Elena.
And I'm Bjorn.
And this is Vikings React, where we take a look at some of your favorite Viking shows and discuss their historical accuracies.
Today, we're going to be watching the new trailer for The Last Kingdom, which is really exciting. We've been looking forward to it for a while.
So the books that the show is actually based on are written to be as historically accurate as possible as far as the setting is concerned,
right,
and the events that surround the main storyline. But then what Bernard Cornwell does is he inserts his own characters and sort of his own ideas into that.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's really good. I'm told that the books are fantastic.
They are. I've read the first one.
I have not read any of them because I'm a very slow reader, but that's beside the point. We'll make it a point. It's on my list. It's probably on my shelf, to be honest. It's a good show. You should watch it if you haven't watched it. We're going to watch the trailer because it just came out and we haven't seen it yet. And she has braids.
I've lost my home. I've lost my name. I'm no longer Richard of Bevonbar. How has it come to this?
Some of the effects looked terrible. The CGI'd the CGI'd like.
Oh, Bevenberg? I'm assuming that's what it was.
I assume too, and also like the fire that was on the roof that was just like terrible.
Yeah, that's kind of unfortunate for.
That's scary. Yeah, that scares me a little bit.
I'm just gonna. Well, here's the thing about visual effects for shows and movies. You have to kind of take them with a grain of salt when it comes to trailers, because oftentimes the stuff that they show in trailers aren't even the finished effects.
That's very true.
They're probably still working on them. So I would just.
They have 5 days.
They'll probably be working on them until like the night before the release of that episode. I just know that as, you know, somebody that works adjacent to that industry, it can get really crazy.
Yikes.
Yeah. They're sleeping under their desks trying to get this done. So take that with a grain of salt.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair, I guess. That's a good point. But still, that was sad to see.
The kings are dead. We will sit on Alfred's throne. We banished the Danes within our lifetime. Why do you choose them? They are my people.
So one of the big storylines that has been kind of consistent throughout the show is kind of will he or won't he? Who's he going to side with? Because half the time he's with the Danes, half the time he's with the Saxons, and he keeps switching sides back and forth. He never switches, from Christianity to heathenry. He's always a heathen, but his loyalty kind of wavers, and it kind of goes toward whoever can basically take him back home and get him Bebenberg back.
But it's also like because he's like sworn oaths of loyalty, and he's like kind of in certain situations like forced to swear oaths of loyalty.
Sometimes, yeah.
So like he can't go against his own word because that's very much like against that heathen notion of like your own honor and stuff like that. But then it's conflicted because then he's fighting his own kind, his own people, which is terrible also.
Yeah. So there seems to be a question of that in here. Who is he allied with this time around?
Yep.
With one heart. I know you will do what is right. Stop it! Where does it come from? This courage.
I want to talk about a quick scene that I saw.
Is it the trench?
It was the trench. It was the trench. It was first chronicalized in like the mid-late 800s during the siege of Paris. The Vikings were like notoriously kind of bad at like pitched warfare. Usually, resulting in they prefer lightning raids and quick things and stuff like that, just like striking really quickly and then running away before they could really do anything, or like holding down a place and like just camping out until everybody else left and stuff like that. But like there were times where they had to kind of commit to like a pitched battle. And those are the times when like they usually kind of lost, which stinks. When they first were sieging Paris, a problem that they had was that the enemy had like these hordes of like cavalry, like regiments and stuff like that, and Vikings didn't fight on horseback. It's just not a thing that they did. They used their own horses for like travel, for like transportation, but they never really like fought from horseback historically speaking. You could argue that Normans later did, because Normans are descendants of the Norse, the Vikings, and the Normans were like later on very well known for their mounted cavalry and mounted combat. Regardless, anyways, so when they were attacking Paris, the Vikings dug like a form of like a bungee pit. It's just like a giant like trench pit thing filled with like a bunch of spikes, and they covered it over and they let an attack, but then they like feigned retreat to lure their cavalry out, and like so the cavalry would think they could like run, like cut them down basically as they were fleeing, but they ran past through the pits, and when the cavalry went after them, they just like fell in and died and got impaled, and it was awesome. It was like a big upset, and everyone was like, "Oh," because they had no idea what happened. It's horrifying, but it's really cool. So it's cool to see that. I have no idea what they're gonna work it into, because that was like the Vikings raiding further into like France and stuff like that. I don't know how this is gonna come into play with England, but regardless, it's just cool to kind of like put that in there. Like Vikings has done that as well at times. Like they'll interject their own like historical stories into the drama, you know? So it's nice to see that like they're also doing the same kind of thing. But they've always done that.
Yeah, they've always done that, and
they've always been pretty good with the history,
yeah,
like facts and stuff like that.
Yeah, and the other thing that's very different about the show is that they know what age this is set in. This is about like mid 800. 850 something, 860 something.
Yeah, I mean,
and it's always stayed pretty consistent within that age to what is actually happening. Yeah,
I mean, this is like at the tail end of like the Great Heathen Army, basically, because the whole thing is the last kingdom is Wessex. It's the last kingdom in England that like hadn't fallen to the Viking invasion, basically, from the Great Heathen Army. Right. So it's basically just like the story of Alfred the Great and his like conquest of England, basically, to like reclaim the lands for the English and drive out the Vikings. Yeah. Well, that's what the whole thing kind of based on. Yeah. And it's awesome. Their costuming is bad.
The costuming has always been an issue on the
Costuming for like every single show has been an issue. It's a shame that it's also with this show too. It's definitely better than the Vikings.
I feel like on The Last Kingdom, the costuming is bad, but it's just like consistently bad. Yeah. It hasn't gotten better, it hasn't gotten worse. They just have their style.
There's no moments of like ridiculousness where you're just like, are you like I feel like it's almost like the opposite. Like you have these little moments here and there where it's like, oh, that looks really nice. And then it's like, oh, well, okay, now we're back to this. Yeah. So they do weird things. Like some of the costuming is really awesome, from what I know. From what I can remember, I guess, because it's been a while since I like watched season 3 too. Anyways,
I can definitely tell that this thing has a higher budget. I mean, this show historically has had like a pretty decent budget. It's never been a low budget show, but it does seem like they're pulling out certain stops for this one specifically.
Yeah, it looks pretty epic. I'm excited for what's going to happen. Yeah, it's going to be cool. It's going to be cool.
I'm sure we'll find plenty of stuff to nitpick once this thing comes on the air and we actually get a chance to sit down and watch it.
Yeah, I'm sure like the first episode or two are just going to be like the general standard, like, costuming bad, here's why. We probably won't have to go into too much detail, which is good, because we've already gone into the detail about it. We'll just reiterate for the new series, probably. Yeah. They try, at least. That's the thing. Like, they're on their 4th season. It's been around for a while. At least they still try to do like the historic thing and everything like that. And like the sets have always looked really nice, at the very least. Yeah, and we'll get more into it from there. But yeah.
And they have good material to go off of. Yeah. Because the books are, again, really good. I've only read the first one, but I freaking loved it.
I maintain that reading is for nerds.
So for you.
Which means I'll get to it eventually.
And yeah, we'll be watching the show and reviewing it and chatting about the history of it.
Yeah.
So you guys will get to see some more of The Last Kingdom with us. Just make sure you watch it first because spoilers.
Tons of spoilers.
Yeah. So many spoilers. Thank you guys so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you can be notified of our future videos. And we'll see you in the next one.